Hello, and welcome to Discover You Radio's Discussions. I'm Robert Simmons, your enthusiastic guide, always eager to explore the compelling currents of our culture.
And I'm Rita Fox. Together, we're diving deep into the topics that shape our world, offering you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
And today we're kicking things off with a story that, wow, it just perfectly captures a very modern phenomenon.
It really does. It's something that seems to surface everywhere we look, doesn't it? Often taught, by the omnipresent eyes of our digital age. We're calling this deep dive the newest Karen on the block.
That's right. Today, we're dissecting what many are calling the Karen Epidemic. It's a term, it's become shorthand for a specific kind of public behavior.
A really specific kind, this deeply ingrained sense of entitlement that's kind of taken on a life of its own in our hyper-connected world.
Exactly. So our mission today is to understand the core behaviors, what makes it tick, and also the lightning-fast response of the internet.
Which is a phenomenon in itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what all of this truly means for our broader society, especially now that, every public interaction carries the potential to become a global spectacle.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this deep dive isn't just about cataloging individual bad actors. So we'll definitely look at a particularly glaring example.
Oh, we will.
It's more an exploration of the deeper psychological roots of entitlement. The bizarre and often uncomfortable dynamics of public spectacle in an age of constant surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
And the truly significant role social media plays in both defining and quite literally policing public behavior.
Policing is a good word for it sometimes.
It can be. So we're going to unpack the history of the term Karen, how it's evolved from like a niche pop culture reference to a really loaded social critique.
And crucially.
Yeah, and critically, the important discussions around its use and, the inevitable backlash it faces. It's really crucial to cover multiple perspectives here. Because the why it matters for you, our listener. It touches on everything from personal accountability to the complex ethics of, digital mob justice.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's unpack this with a recent incident that, for many, instantly became the poster child for modern Karen behavior. Picture this, folks. It's September 6th, 2025.
Just happened.
Yeah, fresh off the viral presses. The Philadelphia Phillies are playing the Miami Marlins down in Miami. The atmosphere is electric, right? Like it always is at a baseball game.
A shared experience.
Exactly, a shared collective experience, a backdrop for making memories. So Harrison Bader steps up to the plate, he swings and connects, smacks a home run.
Great moment.
Sends the ball soaring into the stands, beautiful arc against the evening sky. It's just a classic, thrilling baseball moment, the kind that sparks that pure, unadulterated joy.
Yeah, the crack of the bat, the crowd roaring.
Perfect.
And this is precisely where our story truly begins to diverge from the expected. The ball lands, amidst a scramble of eager fans, like home run balls often do.
Right.
But one dad, Drew Feltwell, a man who, in that instant, became an unwitting participant in this whole viral saga, he manages to secure it.
Okay.
And what he does next is, in a normal, decent world, it's one of those truly heartwarming, iconic baseball moments.
Totally.
He immediately hands that freshly caught home run ball to his young son, Lincoln.
Oh.
It was an early birthday gift for the boy, a gesture of just pure, unconditional love. Imagine that pure joy, right? That sense of wonder on a kid's face, holding a real piece of the game.
A tangible piece of history for him.
Exactly. A souvenir that transcends its physical value. It becomes a cherished memory. So that's the setup. A sweet, innocent, seemingly perfect moment of parental generosity and childhood delight.
Just a picture-perfect memory being made. Something that could warm even the most cynical heart, The kind of story you tell your grandkid. But then, and this is often the case, isn't it? When a profound sense of misplaced entitlement just rears its ugly head, that sweetness curdles fast. Here's where it gets really interesting, or perhaps more accurately, incredibly infuriating. It's a moment that, thanks to the ever-present lenses of countless cell phone cameras, became immortalized and dissected across the globe.
Indeed. Because almost immediately after this really touching exchange, our central antagonist makes her rather audacious entrance.
Audacious is the word.
A woman who would very quickly be dubbed Phillies Karen storms over to the family.
Storms over.
Yeah. She approaches them directly with a demeanor that clearly communicates this sense of absolute ownership and righteous indignation.
Righteous indignation, wow.
And she wasn't simply asking for the ball. No, she was, in essence, demanding its immediate return.
Demanding.
Her exact words captured on, countless recordings now, were a simple yet audacious declaration.
Nice.
It's hers.
Just flat out, it's hers.
Flat out. She genuinely seemed to believe that this home run ball, which had been legitimately caught and then lovingly given to a child, somehow belonged to her. Simply because she was nearby, perhaps? Or maybe felt she had some greater, almost divine claim to it. The sheer audacity of it, as we'll explore, it's genuinely breathtaking. It's almost a psychological phenomenon in itself.
It really is.
This wasn't a request. It was a unilateral declaration of ownership. It challenged the very idea of fairness, good sportsmanship. Basic decency, really.
And the crowd, thankfully, reacted. They reacted exactly as you'd hope they would.
Yeah.
As soon as this woman started making a scene, as her insistent demands escalated, this chorus of boos began.
Oh, good.
A collective groan, a vocal disapproval of her behavior started to ripple through the stadium. It was that spontaneous, organic voice of thousands of people basically saying, this is not okay.
Right. The collective conscience kicking in.
Exactly. But even with that immediate, overwhelming public pressure, she persisted. Drew Feltwell, the dad, clearly trying to avoid an even bigger scene.
For his son's sake, probably.
Absolutely. And crucially, to protect his son from the escalating tension and the public discomfort, he ultimately caves. He takes the ball out of his son's glove.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Which must have been just agonizing, and hands it over to the woman. It's an act of de-escalation, sure, yes, but one that certainly feels like a crushing defeat for basic decency.
Witnessed by thousands.
Witnessed by thousands, and now, millions online.
And what truly sealed her fate, in the annals of viral infamy, was her exit. Walking away victorious, ball clutched in hand.
Unbelievable.
She then turned, and for good measure, delivered a defiant middle finger to the entire booing crowd.
No, seriously.
Seriously. This wasn't a moment of quiet retreat after getting what she wanted. This was a brazen, unapologetic act. It demonstrated a complete and utter lack of remorse, self-awareness, or even a fleeting thought about the negative impression she was making. It was a clear, unambiguous signal that she truly believed she was in the right, regardless of the child involved, the thousands of disapproving eyes on her, or just the fundamental principles of human kindness.
It's almost like a performance.
It was almost a theatrical performance of self-justification, wasn't it? A refusal to concede even an inch to public opinion.
And of course, in this day and age, 2025, in our hyper-connected world, absolutely none of this goes unnoticed. Not a second.
Not a chance.
From the moment she started her tirade, cell phones were out, cameras were rolling, someone was recording every agonizing second. And once that video hit the internet, well,
it did what the internet does best.
It went absolutely nuclear. Instantaneous viral spread, millions of views, shares, comments, all within hours. This wasn't just a scene at a baseball game anymore.
No, it became a global spectacle.
Playing out on every screen, every feed, every news outlet. It was just a perfect storm of public transgression, digital documentation, and immediate global outrage.
This incident is, it's textbook, isn't it? A textbook example of Karen behavior. And it offers a perfect, painfully clear lens through which to deconstruct what makes these moments so resonant.
So enraging.
So enraging, yeah. And ultimately so illuminating about our current cultural landscape. It highlights everything that many find problematic in our collective public interactions today.
Exactly. So let's break down the anatomy of this kind of moment. Let's start with what I think is the foundational element.
Yeah.
The entitlement complex. This woman, as you just described, genuinely believes she had more right to that home run ball than a young child who was literally given it by his own father. What is that, fundamentally? Where does that come from?
It's a level of entitlement that is genuinely breathtaking. It's almost psychologically fascinating to observe in a morbid way.
Yeah.
What we see isn't just like a casual desire or a momentary lapse in judgment. It seems to be a deeply ingrained belief that her wants and feelings fundamentally supersede everyone else's.
Even a child's joy.
Even a child's pure joy. Psychologists might connect this to what's sometimes called a main character syndrome, right? Where an individual perceives themselves as the protagonist of their own life story.
And everyone else is just an extra.
Pretty much. Supporting cast or minor obstacles. We often talk about I want to speak to the manager archetype, don't we?
Huh?
This incident takes that energy and just cranks it up, I would say, to an aggressive, undeniable 11.
Definitely 11.
It's an almost aggressive assertion of perceived rights, regardless of actual facts, social norms, or common decency. The sheer audacity displayed here. That's what makes it so universally condemned and immediately recognizable as this very specific type of problematic public behavior.
Yeah.
It's like a profound inability to practice theory of mind,
Yeah.
to genuinely perceive or care about the emotional experience of another, especially a child.
And it wasn't just a private interaction either. That's key, too. She didn't quietly approach the family, try to negotiate or plead her case.
No hushed tones there.
Not at all. She made it a scene. She intentionally created a public spectacle, drawing attention to herself and the family. This feels like a deliberate strategy, doesn't it? Or at least a pattern.
This is a crucial distinction, and you're absolutely right. It feels like a strategy, maybe often unconscious, but effective in its own terrible way.
Right.
By escalating it into a public issue, she was weaponizing social pressure. She was strategically creating maximum discomfort for that father and his son.
Betting they'd back down.
Exactly. Betting that they would capitulate just to avoid further embarrassment or confrontation in front of a stadium full of people and now potentially the entire internet.
And it worked in the short term.
It did. And this is a classic Karen turn your personal grievance, however unfounded it might be, into everyone else's problem. And then use that manufactured public pressure to achieve your desired outcome.
Ugh.
It speaks to a certain brazenness, doesn't it? A willingness to control public narratives and manipulate social dynamics, even if those narratives are entirely self-serving and just devoid of empathy.
Yeah, it shifts the burden.
It shifts the burden of de-escalation entirely onto the person being targeted rather than the instigator who created the problem in the first place.
And then the final layer, maybe the most baffling part of this whole incident, the complete lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Just none.
Zero.
Even after being roundly booed by an entire stadium, after witnessing the discomfort she was causing a child, she doubled down. With that middle finger, I keep replaying that moment in my head. What is that? Is it pure defiance or something, I don't know, more profound?
It's truly astounding, isn't it? That gesture, to me, is key. It signifies more than mere defiance. It's an almost aggressive assertion of her own perceived righteousness.
Like, you're all wrong, I'm right.
Exactly. A complete rejection of collective social norms and disapproval. There was no flicker of shame, no moment of reflection, no apparent understanding of how her actions were perceived by thousands of people.
The blinkered.
Just pure defiance, almost the declaration that she was impervious to public opinion because her internal narrative, her perceived right, was the only one that truly mattered. This suggests a deeply entrenched worldview, perhaps fueled by certain cognitive biases, where her actions are always justified, regardless of the impact on others. It's not merely a lack of self-awareness.
It's more active than that.
It's an active rejection of any external judgment. As you said earlier, it's like watching someone drive off a cliff while honking the horn, utterly heedless of the consequences or the surrounding reality, completely convinced they're still on the right path.
So once that video hit the internet, there was just no stopping it. The internet's amateur detective squad, as it's often called, mobilized immediately.
Instantly.
The hunt was on to identify this woman, to bring her to account, quote unquote.
And this is precisely where the digital landscape shows both its immense power and its potential for significant, often unintended harm.
Okay.
The speed at which these videos spread and the collective, almost instinctual effort to identify individuals can be staggering.
Really?
We live in a society where nearly every public space, every interaction is potentially recorded.
Webcams everywhere.
Everywhere. This omnipresence means that misbehavior is no longer confined to local whispers. It's instantly broadcast to the world. However, this same rapid mobilization often comes with significant negative consequences.
Definitely.
In this specific case, multiple people were wrongly accused. And this isn't a minor detail. It highlights a serious systemic flaw in this form of digital vigilantism.
Absolutely. The crowd might have identified her in the stadium, but the internet casts a much wider and often indiscriminate net.
We saw it happen in real time. There was at least one poor woman who had to post on social media very publicly, "I'm a Red Sox fan," just to clear her name.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was being mistaken for the Phillies Karen. Imagine being falsely identified like that.
Terrifying.
Becoming the target of online vitriol, doxing, maybe even physical threats, simply because you bear a passing resemblance or got caught in the wrong blurry photo. The consequences can be devastating and instant.
So this raises an important, really critical question for all of us, doesn't it? When the internet mobilizes in this way, Is that true justice? Or is it just another, often more insidious form of bullying?
The term digital lynch mob isn't hyperbole. It points to a process where judgment is swift, often based on incomplete or decontextualized evidence.
And no due process.
Exactly. Lacks any form of due process or opportunity for redress. While her behavior was, let's be clear, undeniably appalling.
It was bad.
It was. But we have to grapple with the immense potential for harm that comes from such a powerful yet often unaccountable collective mentality.
It's a mob mentality, amplified.
It is. We've certainly created a culture where one bad moment, captured on video and amplified globally, can genuinely destroy someone's entire life.
Reputation, career.
Their reputation, their career, their personal safety all can be irrevocably damaged, often with no real path to redemption. It's a very fine line to walk between holding people accountable for public bad behavior and unleashing a disproportionate and often irreversible digital punishment.
And that's why we encourage you, the listener, to reflect on this. What is that balance? What do we want accountability to look like in the digital age? What are the consequences we are comfortable with as a society?
And when does it cross over?
Yeah, when does it cross over into something more destructive, something that strips away dignity and due process? It's a conversation we all need to be having because these moments are only going to become more frequent.
And the lines will only get blurrier as technology advances. But, in the midst of all this digital chaos and the collective outrage, there was, fortunately, a redemption arc.
Yes.
A much-needed splash of basic human decency, a reminder that maybe not all is lost in our public sphere.
Absolutely. The story, thankfully, takes a positive turn for young Lincoln. A really heartwarming counterpoint to the earlier sour note. Harrison Bader, the Miami Marlins player who hit the home run, along with the team themselves, they saw the viral video.
They couldn't ignore it.
They weren't just going to let that moment of pure joy for a child be permanently overshadowed by such an unfortunate and unnecessary incident. They stepped up.
And what's truly heartwarming here is how quickly and thoughtfully the organization responded. They didn't just issue some bland statement.
No PR fluff.
They took action. They invited little Lincoln to meet Bader personally. Imagine that. Turning a moment of disappointment into an unforgettable experience.
That's fantastic.
The boy didn't just get a new ball. He received multiple signed balls, a signed bat. A truly prized possession for any young baseball fan, and a special gift bag from a Marlins staffer.
Oh, that's lovely.
And the staffer, when presenting the items, empathetically and just profoundly said, "This is for you, I'm so sorry."
Wow. I'm sorry.
That simple act of apology, acknowledging the wrong done, and the genuine effort to restore joy, it speaks volumes about empathy and the power of individual and collective kindness.
It really does.
Drew Feltwell, the dad, later confirmed that this incredible kindness shown by the team genuinely made the whole experience better for his son. It transformed a deeply negative public encounter into an overwhelmingly positive and indelible memory.
That's restoration.
It was an exercise in restorative justice that played out on a public stage.
And it wasn't just a private moment of solace either. The Phillies themselves, recognizing the power of social media to maybe right a wrong, to complete the narrative.
Using the tool for good.
Exactly. They even posted photos of Bader meeting the young fan, triumphantly declaring, "Going home with a signed bat from Bader." It was a moment that resonated deeply, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Not just for the family, but for everyone who had witnessed the initial injustice unfold online. It was the feel-good story we all craved after such a profoundly feel-bad one. A collective sigh of relief, almost.
And there's often a but, isn't there? If we connect this to the bigger picture, it also forces us to ask a rather provocative question.
Okay.
Why did it take a viral shaming incident for basic human decency to be so dramatically rewarded?
Good point.
What does that truly say about us as a society? That this kind of restorative justice only seems to happen when a public outcry reaches a fever pitch, when millions are watching.
Yeah. Does it require the shame factor?
It points to a symptom within the larger Karen epidemic, suggesting that perhaps our default setting for compassion and fairness isn't where it should be without the external pressure of public shame.
That's a worrying thought.
It highlights the idea that perhaps everyday kindness is no longer the norm, but something exceptional that requires public intervention, a kind of collective moral recalibration triggered by extreme examples of misbehavior.
So this brings us right to the bigger picture. Understanding the Karen epidemic itself. We've used the term quite a bit, and for many it's instantly recognizable. But for our listeners who might have heard Karen thrown around in various contexts, What's the precise fundamental aspect we need to grasp? What exactly is a Karen definitionally?
That's a crucial question, because the term has evolved significantly from its early, often lighter uses. At its core, Karen is a slang term used to describe someone, typically, though not exclusively, a middle-class white woman who is perceived as entitled, demanding.
Right.
And often, and this is absolutely key, weaponizing her perceived privilege to get her way.
Weaponizing privilege, that's critical.
It absolutely embodies that I want to speak to the manager energy, right? Often paired with certain aesthetic stereotypes like a particular haircut.
The infamous haircut.
Haircut, yes.
Yeah.
And a consistent, unwavering disregard for social boundaries, the rights of others, or even basic logical reasoning.
So it's more than just being rude.
Oh, much more. It's a specific type of public behavior that goes beyond mere rudeness or someone just having a bad day. It signifies a deeper psychological pattern where individual desires are prioritized above collective well-being and common courtesy. It's a fascinating confluence of social psychology, really, how individual entitlement intersects with the reinforcing dynamics of public spectacle and the amplifying effect of social media.
And it's not like this term just appeared out of nowhere, right? An overnight sensation. It really caught fire, becoming this omnipresent cultural label. But it definitely had a history, a slow burn that built up to its current prominence.
You're absolutely right. It wasn't random, and it certainly wasn't an overnight phenomenon. Its evolution was actually a slow burn that truly exploded into the cultural lexicon in the late 2010s and early 2020s.
Okay.
We can trace some of its pop culture seeds much further back, actually. For instance, the character Karen in the 2004 movie Mean Girls.
Oh yeah, Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen.
Exactly. That Karen was often portrayed as somewhat airheaded, clueless, and subservient. While not embodying the full modern Karen, it might have laid some subconscious groundwork for the name.
Interesting connection.
Then, comedian Dane Cook, in his 2005 sketch The Friend Nobody Likes, famously used Karen as a punchline to represent a generally unlikable, demanding person who inserts herself into situations.
I remember that.
So, the name already had these minor negative connotations attached to it in popular culture, just sort of simmering beneath the surface.
But it really found its footing, like so many memes do on the internet. Specifically, platforms like Reddit played a huge role in solidifying the stereotype, didn't they?
Oh, massively. Around 2017, Reddit users started sharing stories and memes about these entitled women who would consistently behave badly in public, and the name Karen just stopped.
It became the go-to label.
It did. You had entire subreddits like r/fuck-you-Karen and r/titled Karens that essentially became online archives for solidifying and disseminating this very specific stereotype, complete with visual cues like the bob haircut and the angry customer persona.
Right, the visual shorthand.
That's where the image, the persona, really started to crystallize for a broader global audience, fueled by user-generated content and that shared online outrage.
And then things took a more serious turn.
And then the term gained a much sharper, more significant, and frankly, more serious edge with the proliferation of real-life viral incidents. We saw countless videos of white women, often fitting the Karen archetype,
Calling the police
on Black individuals for incredibly minor infractions or for simply existing in public spaces. The infamous Central Park birdwatching incident in 2020.
Amy Cooper,
yes, where she called the police on a Black bird watcher, Christian Cooper, no relation, after he simply asked her to leash her dog. That really cemented the term's connection to weaponized privilege and profound racial dynamics.
That video was chilling.
It was. That incident, played out in excruciating detail on video, became a powerful symbol of how privilege could be weaponized to threaten the safety and well-being of others.
So even if an incident isn't explicitly racial.
Right. While the Phillies Karen incident we discussed earlier was different in its immediate context, it wasn't explicitly racial, the term Karen absolutely carries this loaded history of weaponized privilege and racialized harm.
Okay.
It makes any new incident instantly relatable to a broader, more serious societal issue, highlighting its implicit power dynamics. The history is baked in now.
And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and the George Floyd protests erupted pretty much simultaneously. That must have been like pouring gasoline on an already burning fire for the term.
It really was. Karen then became shorthand for a whole new set of behaviors, encapsulating public anger and frustration on multiple fronts.
Mask mandates.
Exactly. We saw people actively resisting public health measures, refusing to wear masks in stores, confronting people about masks.
And the protests, too.
And engaging in racially charged confrontations during the George Floyd protests, often using their privilege to dictate terms in public spaces, challenge protesters. It was everywhere.
Wow.
It was like the perfect storm for the term to become truly ubiquitous. It started applying to almost any situation where someone felt their personal comfort or beliefs superseded public safety, established regulations, or basic human rights.
So it evolved.
The concept evolved rapidly from an internet meme to a complex socio-political descriptor almost overnight.
So this raises an interesting and often debated question. Why Karen for the name? It's not like the most common name ever. Why not Susan or Linda or something?
That's a great question, and it's often debated. It seems to have been chosen partly because it's common enough to feel relatable, yet also culturally neutral enough, at least initially, to become a kind of catch-all stand-in.
Not too common, not too rare.
Sort of in that sweet spot, maybe. But it's also important to note that this tradition isn't new or isolated. It actually connects to a broader established tradition in African-American vernacular.
Oh, interesting.
Where generic names have been used for generations to call out problematic behavior in types of people. Think of Miss Anne in the antebellum era.
Okay.
Used to refer to a white woman who was seen as privileged and often racist. Or Becky in the 1990s, which also came to signify a certain type of white woman, often perceived as naive or maybe complicit in systemic issues.
I remember Becky.
Right, so Karen is arguably part of a longer lineage of linguistic tools used to define, critique, and importantly, collectively name specific social behaviors and power dynamics.
It gives it a handle.
It's a way of saying, we see this pattern and we're giving it a name. It helps crystallize the concept.
So if we synthesize all these factors, it really does feel like a perfect storm for Karen behavior to not just exist, but to thrive and spread virally in our time.
Absolutely. It's not just one thing.
It's a confluence of societal shifts that have converged in our modern era.
Exactly. Think about how social media, for instance, has kind of eroded the fourth wall of public behavior.
Everyone's performing.
To some extent. Before, a minor confrontation might be witnessed by a few dozen people, maybe gossiped about and then forgotten. Now, every interaction is potentially a performance, a reel, a viral moment.
Filmed by anyone.
Filmed by the multitude of cameras that are seemingly everywhere. This creates a powerful feedback loop. Individuals, perhaps unconsciously, adapt their behavior to this potential audience, sometimes escalating for effect. Then there's the pervasive entitlement culture, a byproduct, arguably, of decades of consumerism, a focus on individual gratification.
The customer's always right.
Exactly. A culture that sometimes fosters an exaggerated sense of self-importance. We've been taught that the customer is always right, and sometimes that mentality bleeds into every aspect of public life.
Right.
Leading people to believe their desires supersede basic decency, the rights of others, or even the law.
And maybe we're losing some skills.
Combine this with a general decline, perhaps, in face-to-face conflict resolution skills. The relative anonymity of online interactions often emboldens aggression offline.
That makes sense.
And you have a volatile recipe for these Karen moments to explode into public consciousness. Public spaces have increasingly become stages for personal drama, where individuals feel empowered or even compelled to perform their grievances for an unseen global audience, hoping for validation or intervention rather than seeking genuine resolution.
Now, the term Karen itself hasn't been free from controversy. We should definitely touch on that. It's important to acknowledge that there are valid criticisms and a complex discussion around its use.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a simple, universally accepted label, and it absolutely has its critics. Their arguments are certainly worth considering with nuance.
What are the main criticisms?
Some argue that Karen can be sexist, ageist, or even classist. They suggest that using it as a blanket term can silence women, particularly older white women, who might be trying to express legitimate concerns, advocate for themselves, or even simply navigate a difficult situation, but are then just summarily dismissed and shamed with this label.
Because it becomes a dismissal tool.
It risks becoming a tool to shut down any female complaint, regardless of its validity, and to generalize an entire demographic based on the actions of a few. It's a valid point about generalization and the potential for misuse.
Where the label itself becomes a form of bullying.
Exactly. It can inadvertently become a form of online bullying itself.
But then you have the equally fervent counter-argument, right? Which states that it's a necessary label.
Precisely.
That it's a crucial tool to call out a specific, pervasive, and often harmful abuse of privilege, especially when it targets marginalized groups or disrupts public peace without cause.
Proponents argue it gives a specific, recognizable name to behavior that was previously hard to articulate. It allows for collective identification and critique of a certain power dynamic.
It's not about the name itself.
Exactly. They say it's not about the name itself, but the specific behavior it describes, the pattern.
So this is where the critical thinking comes in.
And this is precisely where our deep dive encourages critical thinking. This raises an important question for all of us as individuals and as a society. How do we balance valid critique of genuinely problematic behavior with the potential for harmful generalization or even misapplication of the term?
It's tricky.
How do we ensure that we're targeting the behavior and not simply using a pejorative label to dismiss people? It's a nuanced discussion, and there isn't a simple, clear-cut answer.
No easy answers here.
Which is why it's so vital to approach these conversations with both awareness and an open mind, constantly evaluating the context.
And this leads us to some key questions, not just for a deep dive today, but for you, the listener, to ponder as you navigate your own world and the constant stream of information.
Yeah, things to chew on.
First, the mob justice question. Is viral shaming an appropriate consequence for bad behavior? Is it a necessary evil in a world where formal systems of accountability sometimes fail? Or have we, perhaps inadvertently, created a digital lynch mob culture that inflicts disproportionate and often irreversible punishment?
And related to that, what's truly fascinating here, especially when we consider incidents like the Phillies Karen, is the profound empathy gap. Why?
Yeah, why?
Why do people, in moments like these, lose all sense of perspective? What happens to that basic human instinct for decency, particularly when a child is involved, when their joy is so blatantly disregarded?
It's baffling.
It points to a deeper societal issue, where individual grievances and perceived rights seem to just eclipse common human kindness, where the immediate gratification of a desire overrides any consideration for another's feelings.
Then there's the generational divide question. Are we actually seeing more Karen behavior in the world today? Like an actual increase in entitlement and public confrontation?
Or are we just documenting it better?
Right. Are we just documenting it better now that everyone has a high-definition camera in their pocket and every interaction is potentially fodder for the internet?
Were people always this entitled? Maybe. But we just didn't have the means to broadcast it globally and collectively shame it. It's hard to know for sure.
It is.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it brings us to the redemption question. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Should there be a path back for people who go viral for the wrong reasons? Once you've been publicly shamed on a global scale, your identity inextricably linked to a moment of egregious misbehavior. Is that it?
Is that the end of the story for them?
Is that the natural, irreversible consequence? Or should society offer a way for individuals to learn, grow, and perhaps, eventually, find a path to rehabilitation and genuine accountability beyond mere punishment? What does true justice look like in the digital age?
Heavy questions. And finally, the parenting angle. For parents like Drew Feltwell, these moments present an incredibly difficult dilemma.
Oh, absolutely.
How do we teach our kids to handle situations like this?
Why?
Drew chose de-escalation by handing over the ball. He prioritized his son's immediate comfort over a principled stand.
Which many parents would understand.
Was that the right call in that moment? And what is that model for his son, both in terms of avoiding conflict and understanding fairness in an often unfair world?
It's not an easy answer, is it? And it speaks to the complexities of navigating an increasingly public world where every decision can potentially be judged by millions.
Okay, so moving towards wrapping up, here's maybe the uncomfortable truth, and I think it's vital for our deep dive.
Go on.
If we're all really honest with ourselves, we all have a little Karen in us sometimes.
Oof, yeah. I think you're right. It's not about being a bad person necessarily, but recognizing those very human tendencies.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all had moments where we felt entitled to something, right?
Right.
Where our wants suddenly seem to eclipse everything else.
Or where we might have prioritized our immediate desires over basic decency or the feelings of others.
Maybe it's getting disproportionately frustrated at a customer service representative for something totally beyond their control. We've all felt that flash of anger.
Or having that fleeting thought of cutting someone off in traffic because we're in a hurry, feeling like our time is more important.
These impulses are part of the human condition, aren't they?
They are. The key distinction, though, as you highlight so well, is that most of us don't act on those impulses in front of thousands of people at a baseball game with cameras rolling, with a child's joy at stake.
Right. There's a filter.
Most of us have an internal editor, a sense of social consequence, or simply enough empathy and perspective to pull back from that precipice. The Karen phenomenon, in a way, is what happens when that internal editor is either conspicuously absent or completely ignored. When the desire for personal gratification becomes the sole guiding principle, despite overwhelming external cues.
So what does this all mean for us, then? The Karen epidemic isn't really just about individual bad actors, is it? Those individuals certainly spark the conversations and provide the viral content.
No, it goes much deeper than that. It's about a fundamental societal symptom. It reflects a society that, in many ways, seems to have forgotten how to be gracious.
How to lose gracefully.
How to lose with dignity. How to remember that sometimes a kid's pure, unadulterated smile after catching a baseball is worth infinitely more than whatever petty grievance or perceived right you might be nursing in that moment.
Perspective.
It's a mirror reflecting our collective civility, or maybe lack thereof, and challenging us to reconsider our values in a world where every action is potentially on display.
What a journey this deep dive has been. From that specific, really jarring incident at the Phillies game, captured on countless cameras,
to the broader, far more complex cultural phenomenon of the Karen epidemic.
We've explored the anatomy of these viral moments, the internet's powerful, sometimes problematic, role in documenting and amplifying them.
And the deeper societal issues at play, from entitlement to the erosion of empathy, the role of technology.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And while Phillies Karen will undoubtedly fade from the immediate news cycle, right? Just like all the others before her.
The cycle moves fast.
The underlying issues, the entitlement, the profound lack of empathy, the weaponization of social media as a tool for both justice and public shaming, the breakdown of basic courtesy, those aren't going anywhere.
No, those are persistent challenges that we as a society continue to grapple with, and they will likely only become more pronounced as our world becomes even more interconnected and visible.
You know, maybe the real epidemic isn't just Karens. Maybe it's the fact that we're all so starved for basic human decency, so accustomed to confrontation and self-serving behavior, that when we actually see it, like Harrison Bader making a kid's day, turning that initial disappointment into pure joy and a memory for a lifetime.
It feels extraordinary.
It feels like a miracle, a profound act of grace, instead of just, Tuesday. It makes us question what our collective baseline for humanity has become.
That's a powerful thought. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? As you navigate your day-to-day interactions and as you witness the next viral moment inevitably unfold.
Because there will be one.
There will be. Perhaps captured by one of the myriad cameras in our public spaces. What stands out to you about our collective sense of accountability and compassion?
Yeah, what resonates with you?
Are we truly living through a Karen epidemic where entitlement is genuinely on the rise? Or are we just finally, and very publicly, holding people accountable for behavior that was always unacceptable, but previously went undocumented and unpunished?
Keep pondering these questions. Keep seeking clarity. And thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really appreciate you being part of Discover U Radio's discussions.
Until next time, keep thinking critically.